like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video on a little information and safety training regarding the Barracuda Cutting System. What I hope to do over the next few minutes is explain the system, how it works, and the safety equipment involved with doing your cut safely. So let's get started. The Barracuda Cutting System is a diesel turbo-powered plasma cutting operation. It's driven by a 404 Perkins turbo diesel with a Marathon generator, a Chicago pneumatic air compressor, and a Hypotherm plasma cutting system. The machine itself is equipped with a control panel on the front, key start for starting operation. We have an emergency stop which shuts fuel off if there should need be. Operating the plasma, you need two things. You need electricity and you need air, and you also need a ground. So when this system is cranked, the one thing that you'll notice is we have an air pressure gauge in here with automatic modulating air pressure that keeps the air pressure in the correct range for the plasma doing the cutting. You'll see the oil pressure, water temperature, and the oil pressure gauge, which lets you monitor what the efficiency of the engine is doing. Over on this side is we have the auxiliary power switches or power plug-ins, and with that we're able to give you alternate power sources for an additional machine to be hooked up, whether it's a welding machine, additional plasma, or other items that you may want to choose to hook up, along with the 120 volt plug-ins. Around to this side we have the accessory breaker. It's a 100 amp system, so we're able to shut the electrical power off on the system while the engine is running. Engine is all self-contained. Diesel is your source of energy, and plasma is what you're driving to do the cut with. This is a low pressure system, so it eliminates the need for a high pressure bottle and the risk associated with such. So let's get started and show you a little bit now about the personal protective equipment, or the PPE, necessary for using the plasma and doing the cut. The first thing to do when getting ready to start doing your cuts with the Barracuda Cutting System or any cutting system is to assess your ground situation. Look around and make sure what do you have that's flammable in the area. So we're going to secure the area around by looking and seeing if there's any flammables, any containers, any vessels that don't need to be in the area, and so we will we'll look that over. You always need a fire extinguisher within reach, and so as you gather up your area and assess it, get the fire extinguisher ready to go. On to the personal protective equipment. What you're going to need for the hands is a good pair of cutting gloves, welding gloves, typically the same, and make sure you got the good protection, along with the long sleeve fire retardant shirt that you're going to be wearing. And eye protection is another thing. It's a very valuable item to have. It's most necessary. When cutting with a plasma, a minimal of a shade 8 is what's required. Shade 9 may be suggested there. So depending on the amperage as you go up, you want to make sure that you get that. Sleeves, these are common to be used to make sure that you have the arm protection as we work through it. One of the next phases is in getting ready to go when we start cutting. Grounding to the piece of work and getting the good ground so that the machine is connected, and that's what makes the loop when you're applying the plasma torch to it. So first thing is coming from the machine and finding your piece of work and getting the good ground connected to it. That's essential that you get a good ground. Next, if you're looking at it from a hand torch setup, where you're going to hand cut the material, whether you're going to gouge the material, or whether you're going to use a mechanized each one of these torches can be added in connected. As for the hand torch, we have an OSHA approved torch here with a safety trigger on it. So it's essentially lift up, point that, put it down on the workpiece, and pull the trigger. Now with the torch here, this hand torch makes it real. It's a real positive thing with this OSHA torch. Trigger on, trigger off. You can lay the torch down, reposition yourself, start again without having to do any adjustments. Very valuable asset. If you're going to do some gouging, we'll change the tips here, show you the point of doing the gouging. And if we're looking at doing it a mechanized on a band crawler, if you will, the straight barrel torch is going to go onto the pipe. We're going to operate the on and off with a remote pendant, so we're able to stand away from the pipe and do the cut. Very safe way to do it. But we want to teach you some of the techniques in doing this so that at the end of the day you wind up in a safe position. As we get started with the hand torch here, one thing that we want to always remember from a safety standpoint is you want to never point the torch at your body, a part of the body. It's not a safe thing to do, as with all cutting. Let's fire the machine up. Let's get cutting. Got through showing you a little bit of hand cutting, things that you can do with plasma. I want to show you how easy it is to swap over to a mechanized system or a mechanized cut. Three things that you're going to need to do along with hooking up this. We're going to disconnect the torch, we're going to disconnect the ground, plug in our different ground. So you always want to ground to the work, make sure you got a good ground on it. With the mechanized system, we have a remote start. So we've already plugged in the remote start on the back of the machine. We'll show you a little bit about that later. And so let's get going on that. Now we're going to change over our machine. We're going to put it over on the automatic mode. So let's start the machine back up, and I'll grab the controls and we'll get cutting. And that's how we cut a piece of 36-inch coated pipe, first pass, with Barracuda's first pass technology. So just remember, when you're out there and you're looking for the safety in the game, we want you to go home safe just like you arrived that morning. The Barracuda Safe Cut is very much just like any grinding on a welding machine. Ground your object good, don't get between it, and use the same precautions that you'd use out there every day with the welding technology in the market.